Okay.
It's a surprise.
Leonard is being recognized for Employee of the Month. And Leonard's been with the City of Muskogee for 7 years. Leonard began employment at the Muskogee Civic Center as a maintenance worker 1 and in transition to the position of a custodian in February of 2015. Over the past year and a half, Lynn has been observed at the Police Department City Hall with a wonderful attitude and always so friendly. Lynn is a hard worker and makes sure everything is spotless. Now, you're looking around like something's wrong with this. This is good, okay? Before coming to work for the city, Lynn worked for the Labor Command Center doing different types of work wherever he was needed. Leonard enjoys listening to music, reading, and watching movies. He is an active member of the Praise Center Family Church where he ushered and ran the sound system. Lynn will be retiring at the end of October and looks forward to being able to visit the beach again soon, something he hasn't been able to do in about 20 years. So we wish you the best at going and visiting the beach again. Is there anything you would like to say?
Thank you for your consideration. Thank you.
Photoshop those in there. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
And Hannah Bowling? Hannah Bowling. Okay, she is not here. We were going to do a presentation for her serving as an intern, so we'll just say that, and then at some point we'll make that presentation to her. Thank you. Okay, agenda item number 1.
Consider approval of Finance Committee minutes of 9/20/2016.
Okay, we'll consider the minutes. Is there additions or corrections?
Move the approval.
The motion
Second.
and a second. We're a little slow to respond today. It's okay. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. And number 1 passes. Number 2.
Consider approval of claims for all city departments from 9/1/2016 to 9/28/2016.
Okay. The Finance Committee met today, and we moved forward with the things that needed to be, and so that recommendation would be made. Is there any question or comment on the claims?
Was the purchasing committee.
I'm sorry. It is the purchasing committee, and Jane's having just a wonderful time serving on the purchasing committee.
Oh, yes, it's wonderful.
We're thankful to have her on the committee.
Yeah. Okay. Any comment or entertain a motion?
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Cale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Item passes. Number 3.
Consider approval of final payment of $7,000 to Zenith Construction Company for the completion of new gazebos and shelters at King, Optimus, Bill Pool, Douglas Maxey, Gulick, Hatbox, and Langston Parks, or take other necessary action.
Brooke Hall.
There were a few questions regarding construction of the gazebos. We are asking that this move forward without recommendation.
Okay.
So move.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to move forward without recommendation. Any comment or question? Roll call.
Janie Boydston. Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. That concludes our agenda for the Finance Committee. We'll now move to the Public Works agenda. Welcome to the Public Works Committee for October 4, 2016. Item number 1.
Consider approval of Public Works Committee minutes of September 20th, 2016.
Is there consideration of the minutes? Is there additions or corrections? Entertain a motion.
Move the approval.
Second.
And a motion and a second. Any comment? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 2.
Hold a public hearing and take action on the approval of an ordinance rezoning the property located on South York Street, north of Smith Ferry Road, more particularly described in the ordinance, from R1 Single Family Residential District to RA Agricultural Residential District, and if approved, authorize staff to revise the official zoning map of the city to reflect said change or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin, and we will consider ourselves in a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, the applicant, Brandon and Megan Sargent, is requesting approval to rezone 10 acres from the R1 Single Family Residential District to the RA Agricultural Residential District. The property is located on South York Street. It's north of Smith Ferry Road. The reason for the rezoning is to allow a new single-family dwelling to be built on the property and also allow a limited number of livestock. Underneath the RA zoning, you're automatically allowed 2 livestock, 2 horses, 2 cows. You can have additional livestock, but you have to go through the Board of Adjustments to get approval, and it is subject to how many acres you have will determine how many livestock you can have on the property. Now, looking at the existing zoning land use, starting with the site itself. Currently, the site is zoned R1, single family, and is undeveloped property. To the north is zoned R1 and is also undeveloped property. To the south is zoned R1, and there's a single-family dwelling. To the east, across York Street, is outside the city limits, so there is no zoning classification, but it's undeveloped property, pasture, and currently has livestock on it. And to the west is zoned R1, is also undeveloped property, also currently being used for pasture and livestock. Now, if you look at the land use map, it does indicate single-family residential on the area along York Street, particularly between Peak and city limits. You can see on the land use map a little better location. You can see Peak Boulevard, Smith Ferry Road, York Street, Farm Addition, Woodland Addition, and where the Meadows is. This property is located in between Cootie Creek and Sam Creek. Since the R1 is single family, it does comply with the land use map and comprehensive plan, and it's been recommended for approval by staff and planning commission. Be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, nobody signed up to speak to it, correct? No one signed up to speak to this item, so we will close the public hearing. Does council have question or comment?
Move for approval.
Second.
I guess council would be Public Works in this case, wouldn't it? We have a motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 3.
Consider approval of resolutions declaring the following parcels of property as surplus to the needs of the city and authorize the conveyance of said property or take other necessary action.
Michael Miller.
Good afternoon. We have before you 6 pieces of property today, all being offered through the incentive program. They've all agreed to the requirements that we place on them through the incentive program, and we're excited about moving these properties forward and getting them back into productive service, and we recommend their approval. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Is this more of those properties that I've got to deal with Roy about?
Yes.
Are
is the
these
short answer.
add-ons?
These are all part of the same group.
All right.
So Dan's going
You're
down in
losing,
flames
Dan.
here. isn't
Move for approval.
Second.
he? Got a motion in 2 or 3 seconds. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item number 4.
Consider approval to authorize the city manager to negotiate and execute a memorandum of understanding with Oklahoma Bike Summit LLC for Muskogee to host the Oklahoma State Cycling Summit for May 19th and 20th, 2017, or take other necessary action.
Mike Miller.
So the Bike Summit happens every 2 years in Oklahoma. It has about 250 people that will come to town. The summit has been awarded to Muskogee. Darla Bennett, who works in our Economic Development Office, has been the leader to land that here in Muskogee, and we're very excited about bringing it here. As part of that organization, they want us to have a resolution agreeing that we are going to be the host city. The city will be given some seed money to help host the event, and then the event itself has paid for itself in the past over several years. We do have funding available if there's a shortfall, which we do not anticipate, but that's part of why we're bringing it to you. It's a good opportunity to bring people to town, and we recommend the approval.
I think I'm pretty excited about it coming. Darla's done a great job in getting it here, but then
Absolutely.
the number of people on Muskogee Area Cycling's Facebook page just continues to grow, and I'm sure this will help. Is there comment or question?
Boy, it's something I would have never believed we would have had a bike summit in Muskogee when you looked at a couple of years ago how our bicycling was in Muskogee. So, but now, again, like you say, look at the Facebook page and
Just growing like
look at the
crazy.
cycling, and that was really vision of a number of people in Muskogee, and I appreciate all the cyclists that we have in Muskogee and the vision that so many have had. Appreciate so much, Darla, and all those that have worked for that effort. Thank you
Doug
very
Walton
much.
has been an advocate as well for
Doug has
bicycling.
just done so much, and
Very persistent in that.
you know, our Parks Department with the envisionment of the trails and the connection of our community. You know, sometimes you don't never believe that it can happen, and this is seeing just the first fruits of some of those long efforts coming true. Thank you very much.
So pinch yourself and say, this is Muskogee, and this is happening
That's right.
right here.
Thank you.
Okay. Did we have a motion in a second?
Move the approval.
We do.
Second.
We got a second, too. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes. Motion carries. Item number 5.
Consider approval to support the Elysium Project as sponsored by the Muskogee Police Department Community Resource Officer Program to combat urban decay and crime prevention in neighborhoods within the city.
Councilman Marlon Coleman.
Mr. Chairman and other committee members, I've had the privilege of meeting with Officer Cotton as well as the other community resource officers about this project that they're trying to push forward for the community. The Elysium Project is a community demonstration project that is designed to advance the need to have better relationships between the community and law enforcement officers. And we've been very fortunate in Muskogee that we have a community resource officer program that is being added to as budget is necessary and is available, and they've been very proactive in terms of making certain that they met with the community to address the community needs. This is a test model that Chief Eskridge as well as Chief Cotton and those other officers believe will be successful as they present it to us on this afternoon. Again, it's a demonstration project. We believe that if it's successful in this area, that it can expand to other parts of town. So I'm going to turn this part of it over to Officer Cotton and his staff as he directs, and they will come and make the presentation at this time.
Deputy Chief, you got 2 guys following you.
Good afternoon. We just want to kind of go over this test model project. It involves education, collaboration, and transformation. And I'm going to let these young men kind of go over the specifics of this particular project about what we're about to do in Muskogee.
Ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, my name is Brandon Garner. This is my cohort, Josh Garza. Together we are the Community Resource Officers for the eastern side of the town within the Community Policing Division. What we're working on is a little thing we call the Elysium Project. Basically, it is a project we've envisioned to take place as a citywide program, but we've decided that the starting point is going to be within the Reeves addition there around Shawnee, the north and south sides of the road. And again, this is a citywide project that is going to be an ongoing project, but this is just our starting point. Let's go back one. In an effort to both rebuild and revitalize our community, we are working on various strategies to change Muskogee's image, both to its residents and visitors alike. In conjunction with the ongoing, focused efforts of the Southwest Initiative Plan, we strive to institute a citywide conservation and re-imaging program known as the Elysium Project. Problem-oriented policing, you don't need to sit here and study this whole thing. You've all heard that problem-oriented policing. Chief Cotton talks about it on a regular basis. Basically, what we do as community resource officers is go out in the community and talk to people, build those relationships, and bridge the gap that we have between our citizens and the police department. And that doesn't mean just simply making traffic stops and throwing people in jail. That means that we are out there getting to the root of problems and solving it before it does really become a problem. It starts with scanning. We've identified a problem here in the area, which is urban blight or urban decay, however you want to phrase it. It really does hurt the city's image, and we would love to fix that. Go to the next one. We've decided to analyze the problem. We have located multiple locations just in that area alone. Lots of illegal dumping. There's trash everywhere. We counted about, like 12 couches out there in just one afternoon. There's TVs. There's trash everywhere. There's weeds as tall as I am. There's poor lighting at night. The list goes on and on. That's just that one area. This persists all over town no matter where you go, and that's something that we need to address. Our response is, of course, the Elysium Project. Like I said, this is going to be a citywide project. It doesn't just stop with the Reeves addition. That's just where it starts. And the assessing part of it is probably the most critical part of it. Just because we go in there and start getting rid of trash, we start code enforcement with properties that are dilapidated or the grass has grown up. We have to assess what we have done once we have done it, because if we just let it go back, it's going to revert back to the way it was. We want to stay on it 365 days a year. This project's goal is a systematic revitalization of the city of Muskogee through combating what is known as urban decay. In order to fight urban decay and prevent this cancerous blight upon our city, efforts must be made to both clean up our city and combat the crimes that occur in the affected areas. This can be achieved by utilizing crime prevention through environmental design, or CPTED, which involves keeping yards and lots mowed and clean, better street lighting, removing trash and debris, using code enforcement to hold landowners and landlords accountable, removing derelict vehicles from city streets. With insight gathered from our very own Officer Ron Mays, we have selected the first area to be targeted with the project's goals and resources, the Reeves Addition. Now, years ago, this area within Muskogee fell into disarray, and many of its homes have been either demolished or awaiting demolition. Since then, very little has been done to revitalize the area, and most homeowners are just biding their time until their property can be bought out and turned into commercial property. This was once a tight-knit African-American community that was self-sufficient and very proud of its heritage. The Reeves Addition derives its name from that of Captain Ira Reeves, business entrepreneur and military strategist of the First World War, who in the early 1900s bought the area in an effort to build homes there. The area was once home to Langston School, the modern-day site of Langston Park, which graduated some of Muskogee's best and brightest in the early half of the 20th century. We believe that with a lot of hard work, this community can once again thrive and have an area to be proud of that future generations can call their own. This area, to be specific, will be the areas west of Main Street and east of 11th Street near Shawnee. And like I said before, the Elysium Project will eventually cover the entirety of the city, and the project will focus on education, collaboration, and transformation of the entire city, one milestone at a time. So if you will, the Reeves Addition is merely just a milestone in this project. And one part of it we want to really focus on is education. A lot of people don't know about urban decay, about what effect that properties can have on the image of a city and just in the neighborhood in general. We like to get out there with the schools and educate children about, littering, how important it is to take care of the image of your city in many more ways than one. We are working on a survey currently with Councilman Coleman. Next Thursday, I believe, we're going to go out in the Reeves Addition and speak with the citizens of the area, because it's very important that they're involved and their voice and opinion is heard, because we don't want to go in there and just tell them this is what we're going to do and this is how we're going to do it, because basically we're no better than an invading army coming into their home. We want them involved. We want their opinions. We don't necessarily know what they want and what they need, but they do, and that's why we have to get in touch with them. Some of the issues we've noticed are inadequate lighting on the streets in the area, which can lead to an increase in crime, the dumping of trash and unwanted furniture and other large household items, derelict homes in the neighborhood, some of which can be seen from main thoroughfares such as Shawnee Avenue, which affects public perception and hinders tourism. Overgrown vegetation such as trees, grass, and weeds results in poor visibility, causing traffic accidents at intersections. Lack of traffic control devices such as stop signs, yield signs, and pedestrian traffic signs. Property owners are neglecting their own homes and properties. And also, visitors and tourists to the city of Muskogee are exposed to the issues, since restaurants and shopping attractions are in close proximity to this problem area. Some of the solutions we come up with are the addition of proper lighting systems to deter criminal activity and to enhance safety, the addition of traffic control devices in an effort to curtail traffic accidents at intersections where no stop signs are located, the coordination between neighbors, code enforcement, and the police department in rectifying these issues and therefore beautifying the Reeves addition. Better access to City of Muskogee transportation for those without transportation of their own. Better monitoring and enforcement of illegal dump sites. Partnering with various organizations to enhance the quality of life for all citizens of Muskogee, such as Neighbors Building Neighborhoods, AIM Safe and Secure, and A More Beautiful Muskogee, for example. And we must educate residents in regards to the correlation between their environment and crime. Once again, we propose this to you in hopes that you'll support it.
Okay. Is this something that we need to have a vote of support for it, or is this something you're just making us aware of?
I thought we needed to have a motion of support, but is that correct, Roy?
Yeah, that's how we've got the agenda item written.
Okay.
Would somebody give me the specific street parameter of what's the target area other than just Reeves Addition?
Right now, it's going to encompass Main Street west all the way to basically Walmart's property. In that area, it'll be to city limits, to Shawnee, the area Shawnee south to 11th Street to Main Street. And I believe it's Martin Luther King. Well, no, that's not right. Tamaroa? Talladega, there we go. All the way down south to Talladega.
Talladega, and then north to the city limits, which is going to be about Harris Road?
Yeah, well, no, not quite. Where the OG&E substation is, just to the north, it'll be way south of Harris. It's going to be off of, I believe, Kennesaw. Does that sound right? Yeah, it's off of Kennesaw, actually.
Okay. And then Main to 11th?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think that's terrific. You know, I like the idea. I like the area you're covering. You know, I think it makes a difference, and it has a huge economic impact. Those perceptions that people see and think about our community have an enormous economic impact. I know that personally. Other comments or questions?
Second.
You got a motion and a second? Any comments further? Roll
I
call.
noticed that he mentioned A More Beautiful Muskogee. I would encourage you to come to our next meeting.
Yes, November, correct?
I'm not sure myself.
I think it's November
It's
2nd.
every other month.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 6.
Discuss and provide necessary direction to staff on residential traffic complaints on Martin Luther King Boulevard between 11th Street and 24th Street.
Councilman Marlon Coleman again.
And Mr. Chairman, this will be one of those items that does not need a motion, but it will just require direction to staff. But I thought I'd bring it to everyone's attention on tonight. The Martin Luther King Street project was recently completed. There's a lot of excitement about that area. The residents are excited, but unfortunately, with newly paved streets, sometimes comes unnecessary speeding. And now a resident has contacted me and said that they believe that there may be some drag racing going on. And so since those residents have reached out to us, I'm reaching out to us as a committee through the city manager's office to give direction to evaluate whether or not we can place some type of speed bumps or lighted speeding signs or see what else we can do to make those residents comfortable in that area. And of course, I'm recommending staff look at those things without trying to involve adding a burden to our police department, because we already know that they're understaffed and stressed to capacity in some areas. But we are asking that we ask city manager to look at the possibility of putting speed bumps or whatever may be necessary to curb the speeding in that area, as well as slow down the traffic so that the residents can be comfortable with the progress we've made, especially since that's a new area. Town looks really, really nice, and we want them to be comfortable with what we've done for them.
Okay. What direction do we take with this, or we're just giving this to staff?
One of the things that I'd like to have happen is for Mr. Stewart to talk a little bit about our speed hump program.
Yes.
And I know that in talking with Committee Member Coleman in the past, because he notified me of these complaints about a month ago, and we did contact PD to have them increase patrols. And in fact, I had a comment today of somebody mentioning that they noticed a police officer out there looking to catch speeders. But one of the things that we looked at was whether the speed limit is too high. It's currently 35 miles per hour. We do have a trailer that we have out there to notify. It is out there now
yes,
to
it's
notify
on the 17th, 18th, right in that
okay
area for
drivers
the
drivers
westbound
of what their speeds are, and we may look at whether we need to study what the average speed is in the area, whether it is too high, whether we do need to take action to reduce it. But the problem being is that it is a collector street, and so we have self-imposed in our traffic control policy some of the things as they relate to speed bumps. So if you wouldn't mind to talk about that generally, and then I'd like to get some direction from the committee if we want to go a different direction to modify that, or talk about maybe some other alternatives.
The current traffic calming policy, as you will remember, was modified not that long ago, I think within the last year. We looked at it and we made a lot of allowances in it so that we could start putting the speed humps in more than we had in the past. Because if you'll remember, we only have one on Valhalla up to the point where we modified the policy. Since we have done that, we have added two over on 3rd Street at the Martin Luther King Center, and we've also put 2 over on 3rd Street just south of the Environmental Control or the Music Hall of Fame. And we have several more right now listed to go in. The speed humps at that time were really identified to go on residential streets and not on the collectors. Residentials in Muskogee are 25 miles per hour unless otherwise posted, and so most all residentials are 25. Collectors, which are the streets that are meant to move the traffic, are listed as 35. The traffic calming policy currently states that speed humps are allowable on collector streets, but only if this posted speed limit is not 35. And the reason it was done that way is because there are some collector streets that go by schools and that go by parks, and we wanted to make sure that we had an allowance for those areas. Otherwise, the policy does state it's 35 miles an hour, and speed humps are not for those type streets, because it was felt like at that time that 35 was an appropriate speed limit for a collector street, because its purpose is to move the majority of the traffic over to the arterials. Residentials feed into the collectors then travel out to the arterials, and that's how our traffic system is set up. So that's the way the policy currently reads, and that's the way we approved it at the last session. So speed humps currently on Martin Luther King in that area are not allowable according to the policy. He is a collector, but the speed limit is 35, so the policy does not allow that. Now, there's some other things in the policy that are called for that could be used, but you know that the more appropriate time to do those would have been when we were under design, and that's the narrowing or the roundabouts or some different things like that. We
Mike,
have.
You had an idea, if you wouldn't mind to mention that, about utilizing that trailer and some other type of devices to collect.
Yeah, I was getting there. The current speed trailer that we have is pretty old, and the data collection system on it does not work currently. So all it's doing is just posting the speed limit on the cars that are going by. And Highway Department, I guess you are aware that the way they set the speed limits is they do a study on the traffic speeds and then look at the 85th percentile and adjust their speed limits accordingly. The problem with the speed radar trailer that we have, when people see it, they automatically slow down. So we're looking at some different technology. Morris is researching it. He actually is going to get with me in the morning with some of his findings. There's some items out there that can collect the data and get it more accurately so we can see what's really going on out there so we can make an appropriate decision. I don't think we want to turn that from 35 to 25 unless we have that correct data. Hopefully that will slow down, or we can get whoever's doing that violation under control, and that street can continue to be a collector. We don't want anybody hurt, though, and we totally understand what Councilman Coleman's saying, so we're trying to move that forward, and working with Roy and Mike Miller, we'll keep them informed, and we'll take what direction, whatever you recommend to us, we'll try to adhere to that.
So, Mr. Tucker, would we just say, basically, you would continue your research along the lines of what Mr. Stewart has also discussed, and then
Bring you an update.
bring us an update maybe 30 days or?
Yeah, 30 days would be
Yeah,
good.
we can do that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're also going to reach out to ODOT and see what they're using, because I really don't know how they're collecting their data on their speed studies. So we'll reach out to them. Maybe there's something they can assist us with. So that's one of the things that our meeting with ODOT, I think, is one of the things that's been beneficial from it.
Mr. Coleman, in some of your visiting with residents, local residents there, do you get the sense that people are going, 40, 45 miles an hour? Or do you get the sense that this drag racing is a big deal, or has that just happened a time or two, or what's the sense that you get out of this?
On the first part of your question, the sense that I'm getting is that ever since the completion of the street project, cars are just really speeding up and down that part of the road, probably because they can now. And the residents that had contacted me about that were concerned that their grandkids and some other small kids that were out playing in that area may get struck by a vehicle because of how fast they're going. To the second part of your question about the drag racing, I just got those calls within the last couple of weeks, and so they're concerned that this is something new in addition to the unnecessary speeding that had been going on, and they just want something out there to be certain that we could control that so that those residents feel safe, particularly in areas where we have a lot of kids. And what happens a lot of times, you have a lot of kids that walk from the Martin Luther King Center westbound down Martin Luther King, and so that's another concern. That we want to be certain that we have kids or regular pedestrians or bike riders, that they are all safe in regards to how we take care of that going forward.
One of the things that's great about the improvements on Martin Luther King Street is it's one of the most improved streets we have, one of the most complete streets we have, with sidewalks, curbs, guttering. So it is completely made for pedestrians and for walkways. With that, we want to make sure and maintain the traffic ways, because it's made for pedestrians and for walkways, so it's very important we do that.
Okay. So we've got enough direction to staff. Okay. That concludes our agenda for the Public Works meeting. We'll now go to the special call council meeting for October 4th, 2016. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn.
Here.
Deputy Mayor James Gully. Dan Hall.
Here.
Marlon Coleman.
Here.
Janie Boydston.
Here.
Wayne Johnson.
Here.
Patrick Kale.
Here.
Ivory Mann. Derek Reed.
Okay, and we know, we don't need to excuse on
No.
Only for regular
special
meetings.
call. Okay, item number 1.
Consider approval to accept the Assistance to Firefighters Grant from FEMA in the amount of $149,500 with a City of Muskogee match of $13,590, or take other necessary action.
Chief Mike Odell.
Yes, sir. Mayor and council members, this is a grant. It's AFG Assistance to Firefighters Grant from FEMA. I would like to take credit for it, but Chief Tatum did most of the work on it, but we're just now being awarded this grant. He, along with Rebecca Walkup and Julie Moss from the Muskogee nonprofit, worked very hard on it, did a good job. I was notified about a month ago that we were awarded this grant. It's for $149,500 to buy training props for our new training center. but of that, we have to match $13,500. So I'm here tonight to ask council to approve that match of $13,500, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Chief, just one point of clarification, 13,590 is what is printed. Is that correct?
Yes, I put it wrong on mine. I'm sorry.
Okay.
13,590. I think I made that mistake earlier, didn't I?
That's okay.
Well, you corrected it in time.
Yes,
Yeah.
we did. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Sounds like a real bargain. I move approval.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any comment or discussion?
Do we have that budgeted?
That's, well, I was new to budgeting, and so Chief Tatum had carried over money for grant matching every year, and we were trying to cut our capital outlay money, and I had forgotten about this grant, so I didn't carry that money over. So with discussions with Roy and Gene and Mike, we've decided that we can find that money in capital outlay.
Okay. Thank you.
Motion and discussion?
Yes.
Motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call.
Janie Boydston.
Yes.
Patrick Kale.
Yes.
Marlon Coleman.
Yes.
Wayne Johnson.
Yes.
Dan Hall.
Yes.
Mayor Coburn.
Yes, motion carries. Item 2.
Consider approval of awarding the Muskogee Police Department replacement chiller to the best bidder, Wagner's Mechanical Services, in the amount of $90,809, or take other necessary action.
Mr. Garvin.
This item is to consider approval of low bid or best bid to Wagner's Mechanical Service in the amount of $90,809. It's for the replacement of the chiller within the Muskogee Police Department. Currently, the existing chiller within the police department is a 110-ton chiller. It is running at less than 50% capacity, running on about 50 tons. The unit has to be reset multiple times during the day and night. Currently, it's not keeping up with the cooling of the police department. We brought in several portable temporary air conditioning units to help with that. The police department has stated there are several rooms within the police department that it gets extremely warm, especially in the interrogation room and some other rooms. And they're saying, as far as the temperature in there, it really doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. It still has a problem with heat. So we decided to go out for bid to replace the chiller. When we went out for bid, we was looking at two things. We was looking at cost and schedule. When could it be installed? The low bidder, which was $74,450, stated it would take 7 to 9 weeks to get the equipment in, then a few additional days to get it installed. The second low bidder was Wagner's Mechanical at $90,809. They stated the equipment was in stock and they could have it installed in 4 to 5 days. If you approve the bid, the best bid to Wagner, basically a notice to proceed would be issued tomorrow. Since we had a schedule concern on getting the chiller installed, we also will be adding a $2,000 liquidated damages for anything beyond 10 days. So in other words, they'll have till the 16th of this month to get it installed. If they don't, they will get charged $2,000 a day until it is installed, or until they reach $16,000, which is the cost difference between the lowest bid and their bid. So we are recommending approval of Wagner's. Be glad to answer any questions.
Did we get any information on quick ship on the?
We did, and correct me if I'm wrong. Well, Billy, come up here and tell them what Hogle told you.
I talked to Greg Hogle. He said because of the type chiller it is, it's a dual circuit type deal. This was going to be a special built from Train that had the circuit incorporated, I'm assuming, in the chiller. And he's for the quick ship, since it was a special made, he said it's $16,000. That would knock off roughly 2 weeks. Of the 7 to 9, it's 4 to 5. But it'd be a cost at $16,000. I just got that information about 15 minutes ago.
I've got a question. Boy, if this was June the 5th, I'd see a real need to get something resolved. Being that it's 1st of October, is it that big of deal to seem to be in a panic? My next question is, was the old chiller unit way oversized?
The old chiller unit was 110, which would definitely handle it. We had multiple different contractors come out there and look at it, and they all said 90 ton would be more than what was needed to handle it. And that's what this replacement is, 90 ton. 50 tons is nowhere close, though, to handling it. As far as the temperature, we had the same concerns. The PD is insisting that there's rooms in there, again, that it does not matter what the temperature is, that they burn up in those, that they basically use the air off and on throughout the year, whether it's November or July.
I thought interrogation rooms were supposed to be hot and uncomfortable.
Evidently, it gets a little too hot, though, even for the officers.
So, how long have they been putting up with a few rooms being hot?
This has been going on for several weeks now. First, when we started having the problem, we started resetting it. Then it got where we was having to reset it more and more. Then we started bringing the temporary units in. Then we was trying to get bids put together and specs, trying to come up with the funding to do it, because actually this was not a budgeted item, which is going to be paid for out of capital outlay. And then we just got the bids back. That's why it's on special call council instead of going through purchasing, finance, and regular council meeting.
And the time period between the two bids is 6 weeks?
The low bid said it would be 7 to 9 weeks to get the equipment in, and then a few more additional days to get it installed. The second low bidder, the equipment's in stock. He could have it installed within 4 to 5 days. Again, if you go with the second low bidder, in the agreement we will state that he'll have 10 days to install it. Then we're going to start charging $2,000 a day.
Can you technically do that if that was not a part of the bid packet?
We talked to the low bidder or the second lowest bidder and told them, since we were considering the time, if we're going to consider you to get it installed quickly, we're going to put that in your contract, and he agreed to it.
And you were speaking to ordering something quick or overnight, or what was?
Yes, that was Fred Hogle with Hogle Plumbing. He was the low bidder.
Okay.
At $74,000.
Okay.
Wanted to see if he could get it special, shipped in quicker, built quicker, and according to what Billy found out from Fred, it would cost him an additional $16,000 to get it done in quicker, and still be 4 to 5 weeks before they would get it in and be able to install it.
Okay.
Again,
Yeah, my concern is we're going to spend $16,000 more for a less quality piece of equipment. And here we are sitting here in October when we were having this problem a month ago.
Yeah, which we had to go out for the bid process and go through all the channels to do it. Now, I might ask Reggie to come up and see if he can tell us if the portable units are capable of handling it until, at this point, you know?
No, I can tell you that pretty much even in the first part of October, it's pretty unbearable in all the rooms. And one of the things that we have to consider are the evidence rooms as well, where we keep evidence. So the chillers or the small air conditioning units, they're not really keeping up with the entire building. So it gets pretty hot.
Have we looked at a rental chiller during this time period?
No, you haven't. No, we have not. Do you think you could make it for another 7 to 9 weeks on the current situation?
It's been hot all summer. So, but in the month of October, it is going to get cooler. We're just hoping that it stays a little bit cooler outside. So hopefully it'll stay cooler on the inside. But one of the problems was it's so spacious and the ceilings are high in so many different places. It's just very difficult to cool that entire building.
Reggie, how long have you been having trouble with the chiller?
It's been years, but we've been having problems with it, especially this year, probably all year long, since we've needed air, March, April. It's been unbearably hot.
Could we make a recommendation to follow through with the proposal pending a short meeting with the department maybe Mr. Johnson and Gary and just relook at the equipment, relook at the bids, relook at the timeline, visit with everybody, and if they go, "Nope, let's just do it now, let's do this deal," then we will. And if they go, "Well, wait a minute, we can struggle by with 4 more weeks, and Mr. Hogel's here in town, and the equipment's better equipment, why don't we see if we can tough it out?" And then say, "Okay, now we're going to do it this way." I just wonder if we might have a little involvement with some folks that might be more mechanically inclined than some of us to just take a look at it. And if they go, "This is the best way, let's just go ahead and do it."
Well, if we were going to do that, I would suggest just moving this to the city council
Table it
meeting
to
on
Monday.
Monday,
Okay.
rather than delegating to a group of people.
So
Move without recommendation.
would we move?
Table.
Would we table it with the task of maybe a couple of council members meeting up with the police department and Gary, and this might be exactly the way we go? My gut instinct says, "Boy, Patrick, I'd like to ask a few more questions and look into it, the time of year, the quality of equipment, and so on and so forth, that just a little more due diligence would make me feel a little more at ease." And it might very well be that after a little 2-hour meeting or an hour meeting, we decide the way that's been proposed tonight is the way to go. So maybe that'd give us a couple of days to meet before Monday.
We can certainly do that and then get some additional information from the proposed bidders, because I know that Mr. Hogel was reached out to, but I don't think we've given the other gentleman an opportunity to give us some information on the brand of chiller that's been proposed, which I think would be fair to do.
Yeah, or speeding up the time frame.
Yeah.
Would that be acceptable to you, gentlemen?
Mhm.
A couple of days to just
Yes.
lock up?
So we would
Yeah,
table
till
the
Monday
item
night.
Yes.
with the understanding that these things could go on. That doesn't need to be a part of a motion, I'm assuming, just direction to staff, so to
yeah.
speak.
Move forward without recommendation.
Okay,
Table.
Needs to be tabled. Yeah.
Tabled.
Yeah.
and we need to vote on tabling?
Yep, and that'd be tabling till Monday night, which is the, Pam, do you have the date of that?
12.
What is it?
12.
Date.
No, they didn't.
Sunday
10th,
night
10th.
would be the 9th, I think.
10th.
10th?
Gary, can you get
Yes. Yeah.
arrange a meeting?
Yes.
So Patrick, is
Quickly.
that in form of a motion? Because we need a motion to table. Or did?
I think
have
he
a
made the
motion
motion
to
to
table.
table. I'll
You got a motion
second
to
it.
table. You
And
got a
that's-
second?
Monday, to table it to Monday the 10th, regular meeting.
Okay.
And this is not going to, I'm assuming because of the short timeline, this is not going to hinder police operations.
They're currently working with the current situation now, so they're making it work currently.
Yeah, the worst of it's going to be this week, and then Friday it turns down to 65 degrees. But the worst of it's going to be the next couple of days.
And we can't do anything anyway.
Correct.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any other comments? Roll call.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes. Item passes. Number 3A.
Consider an executive session to discuss and take possible action on the following. Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25 Oklahoma statutes, consider convening an executive session for the purpose of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property owned by the city of Muskogee, and if necessary, take appropriate action in open session.
Entertain a motion for executive session.
So moved.
Second?
Motion and a second. Any comment or discussion? Roll call.
Janie Boydston?
Yes.
Patrick Kale?
Yes.
Marlon Coleman?
Yes.
Wayne Johnson?
Yes.
Dan Hall?
Yes.
Mayor Coburn?
Yes, motion carries. If you will, we will consider ourselves in executive session. If you would excuse us from the council chamber, please. We'll now reconvene from executive session. Roll call, please.
Mayor Bob Coburn?
Here.
Dan Hall?
Here.
Marlon Coleman?
Here.
Janie Boydston?
Here.
Wayne Johnson?
Here.
Patrick Kale?
Here?
We're accounted for regarding item 3A. Mr. Beastie.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pursuant to Section 307C10, Title 25 Oklahoma Statutes, Council did convene an executive session for the purposes of conferring on matters pertaining to economic development, including the transfer of property owned by the city of Muskogee. And after being fully briefed and discussing the matter, I believe no action is necessary.
That concludes our agenda. Thanks for being a part of our meeting.